Well, Detroit Lions fans, now we get to talk about James Houston once again. A guy that was in street clothes against the Dallas Cowboys is now finding himself kind of enthralled right into the mix of what do we do, right? What are the Lions going to do now? The Lions don't have a choice. James Houston is the last option now, outside of the guys that the Detroit Lions have brought up, and Cam Gill and Al-Quad Muhammad and Isaac Ukwu and the rest of the defense that we still have. James Houston is the last true pass rusher that has been inserted into this defense now for 3 seasons, or at least this was James Houston's 3rd season, but he did miss the majority of his 2nd season due to an ankle injury. And he was a former 6th-round pick that was expected to prove his worth to the coaching staff this season. A lot of his supporters felt that he could be a key contributor this season. It just hasn't happened yet, and now we're going to probably see a much bigger dose of James Houston in the near future. Aaron Glenn's defense has been one that a lot of fans felt was missing pressure from the other side of Aidan Hutchinson. And now we're missing Aidan Hutchinson. So what are we going to do now that we're also missing Marcus Davenport? Davenport was a heavy investment for Brad Holmes this offseason, and Aaron Glenn in finding the right individual to match up or pair up with Aidan Hutchinson that had a different skill set. They brought something a little bit different to the team than what we already had. It didn't mean that James Houston didn't have a job. It didn't mean that James Houston wasn't going to get his opportunities. It's just they all do things a little bit differently. And I want to bring you back to a few quotes that Brad Holmes had made about James Houston and kind of what they were expecting, now that they had Mekhi Wingo and Josh Paschal and Levi Onwuzurike was back and bringing in Marcus Davenport. And of course, you got Aidan Hutchinson or had Aidan Hutchinson. They still expected James Houston to be the guy they thought he was and the guy that they were training to be. And this is what Brad Holmes said early in the offseason. He said, I've always thought that the best thing that James does is get after the quarterback. Can he do other things? Yes. He played linebacker at the University of Florida, but when he got to Jackson State and he just put his hand in the dirt, the toolbox opened immensely. It was the same thing when we first drafted him. He kept working and had the production. And that production was immediately felt in the first game that he got into versus the Buffalo Bills. I believe it was the Thanksgiving Day game. James Houston had like 4 snaps and 2 sacks, and they came lightning quick against Josh Allen. Some of those vicious, quick and violent sacks I had seen all season long, and they happened at the right time, and he was a big reason why the Lions were very close to winning that game. But question marks started to rise. Houston last season was asked to do a lot of things that he really hasn't done before, playing special teams, playing in coverage downfield, and it was on a special teams play where he snapped his ankle. Had he not been asked to do all these other things and just stick to what he does best, maybe we wouldn't even be talking about James Houston in street clothes. A healthy scratch in a game where we're already down Marcus Davenport. So how does that make any sense? Well, sometimes you bring the players with you that make the most sense for that game. The Lions went with a little bit more of offense tonight versus defense, and the defense was plenty fine tonight with the players that they brought with. So here's another quote by Brad Holmes. He says, you have to think too. He missed basically all of last year. What was that? Game 2, running down on special teams when he had the injury. For a young, developing player to miss a whole year when he only had really half a season of experience, albeit very productive, he had to come back from the injury. And then now he's just rushing the passer now. He can play Sam linebacker, but I think what he does best is just get after the quarterback. So Brad Holmes is recognizing the fact that there's more skill, there's more opportunity for James Houston, but they're just trying to give him what he does best right now while he's coming back from this injury and refinding his footing all over again. I don't think that the ship has sailed on James Houston. I really don't. I think that they're just taking their time with him and trying to get him back to where he was. Brad Holmes, had another quote, and I think that this is also a good one to share. He said, he's a guy that showed in his last preseason game, talking about this season, what he can do, and he's got tremendous ability to bend, change directions, counter. He might not be the power rusher that Aidan Hutchinson is. He's a completely different flavor, but that's what we like about him as well. He had to battle through some stuff after the first preseason game, so he missed the second one, but it was good to see him show what we know he can do in that last one, which I believe that is where James Houston had a sack off the edge. It was a pretty nifty sack too. It's pretty good stuff from him. So this is a timing thing. James Houston played in 7 games his rookie season, the last half of the season. He missed his entire second season. They tried to get him in, towards the very, very, very end of the season, and I think they did for a couple of snaps. And then so far through his 3rd season, he's battled a few nicks and cuts and bruises. and he's been out, a few different times for various different issues, like all players, tend to go through. The injury bug has just been very wild this season for all teams, but especially the Detroit Lions. And right now, when, the Lions' backs are kind of up against it, they're 4-1. They've got a very tough opponent, coming up at the Minnesota Vikings. James Houston is the last resort for a pure pass rusher that we have left on this team. We really don't have another one. Josh Paschal is a hybrid. Levi Onwuzurike is a defensive tackle that might play a little bit of outside, but he's not going to rush the passer like a true pass rusher. Mekhi Wingo is, again, another hybrid. There is not another true pass rusher that we have on the roster. And until we can get that figured out, right now it is going to be a mixed bag and a mixed scheme that AG is going to have to dial up. But James Houston is absolutely the last resort right now for this Detroit Lions team until Brad Holmes, and if Brad Holmes decides to go out and make a splash trade or some sort of a deal with somebody. So until that time, let's all get behind James Houston. Let's hope that he has a great game upcoming here against the Minnesota Vikings. You guys let me know in your comments below. What do you think about James Houston right now? I mean, he's it, right? So we've got to give him a chance. It's time to get behind him and root him on. Doesn't make any sense for us to kind of beat him into the ground right now. I think that this is more, just kind of trials and tribulations of being an NFL player. I don't think that he's lost his ability to play the edge position by any means. I don't think his injury has hampered him enough. I mean, clearly we've seen production out of him. Even yet this season, he's just been behind a Marcus Davenport. He's been behind an Aidan Hutchinson. And where the Lions have gone into these games with, a very specific style of player that they wanted to bring up for the game, James has kind of been left on the outside. And when he was up, he just didn't get a ton of snaps for whatever reason that is. So he's a third down guy. He's not going to give you every snap of the game. And that's where, the Lions do have an issue, is they need to find, if not one, maybe two guys that can play every down at the position. So until we see something different, James Houston is it for right now. Who's next? Let me know in the comments below. Who do you want the Lions to target in, before the trade deadline, or maybe poaching them from another team's practice squad? Who are you looking for the Detroit Lions to bring in? And how soon do you think the Lions need to get that done? So that's it for this episode. Appreciate you guys. Go on Pride. Go Detroit Lions. Take care. Bye-bye.
Charge, ready for the fight. Noble hearts and steadfast pride. Detroit spirit, we wear it white. Feel the drive, hear the crowds embrace. Rocked on Detroit Lions will rise. With a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. In the city, where the roar meets the night, the Lions charge, ready for the fight. Noble hearts and steadfast pride. Detroit spirit, we wear it white. Feel the drive, hear the crowds embrace. Rocked on Detroit Lions will rise. Rocked on Detroit Lions will rise. With a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. With every game, we rise and unite. Feeling the passion igniting the light. Through highs and lows, we'll stand as one. A legacy, a tale that's just begun.